Once upon a time, I had just finished one of the most challenging reading months of my life. So clearly going into February, I'm going to make it really easy on myself, right? Right? February 2023 is upon us, and with it, a new month to make it great TBR. I'm very excited about what I'm going to share with you today, and the TBR has changed a little bit. As you know, if you follow the channel, we just finished up January, which had our DNF challenge, which involved me reading a lot of books that I didn't necessarily want to read. So now we're into February, and I'm pretty excited about what's on deck. So I had something planned right away, and of course, in the best way possible, it got changed. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Barnes & Noble and I mentioned it on the channel that I was trying to find that older version of the book Shogun that had that black cover, the hardback edition. And of course, they're all out of it. They're reprinting them for the Hulu series that's coming up. But wouldn't you know it, one of the best booktubers online, a guy who runs the Library of Alexandria, sent me some book mail. I can't believe it. What a kind and an amazing human being. Alan, thank you so much. This moved immediately to the top of my to-do list for February. I'm not sure how much of Shogun I'm going to read, but I want to make sure that I get to at least where the series starts for the first few weeks when it comes out at the end of February. If anybody happens to know, by the way, what kind of the outline is for Shogun as a weekly release and where I need to be in the book to stay current or a little ahead of the show, that would be amazing if you could put that in the comments. I'm going to try to get through at least books 1 and book 2 before the series starts in late February. And then, as I understand it, these episodes are going to come out weekly for a total of 10 episodes, which I think completes this book. I'm very excited to read Shogun. Historical fiction is relatively new to me, but I've been doing Japanese Duolingo now for 606 consecutive days. So going back into 17th century or 16th century, whenever this book is set, feudal Japan is really exciting to me. I'm starting February with Shogun. I'm excited to find out what it's all about. Thank you once again, Alan. That is amazingly kind. And as you know, I've promised I'm returning the gift in some way. I'm not sure yet, but in true BellTube fashion, you'll know when it gets there. And the next book that I'm going to read in February is one that I've mentioned for the last few months, and that is Demon in Wight by Christopher Ruocchio. I'm very excited for this book. I'm a little nervous for this book because it is about 700 pages. It's coming in at about, I want to say about 300 and some thousand words. And Howling Dark took me about 2 weeks to really get through it, and I want to make sure I can get to as many books as possible in the month of February after going through what I did in January. Now, Christopher Ruocchio is truly one of the best authors writing today, and I don't really know anybody who writes, several 100,000 word books that are this epic in scope, that bring out such passion. You gotta be kidding me. Hello. No, we're not talking about it. We're talking about Christopher Ruocchio. 414,788. Yeah, we know. Dance of Dragons is 414,788 words. We know. We all know. We've all probably read it 5 times since you wrote it. Uh-huh. But, fine. And look in the camera. Okay. Christopher Ruocchio writes space opera the way space opera is intended to be written. Okay, we're done here. Thanks. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, Demon in Wight is the second book we're tackling in February. Can you tell this month is looking a little dense right now? Because we've already got Shogun. Now we're adding Demon in Wight. What could we possibly add to TBR Mountain for February to make it even more dense? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I've been running a poll for the last couple of months asking the community which series should I start in February. And of course, I don't know if you love me or I don't know if you hate me, but here's what won. Yup, Gardens of the Moon, Malazan Book of the Fallen, #1. Yeah, so we're going to have a little light reading month starting off in February with Shogun, Demon in Wight, and Malazan. That seems not very much like light fare. I guess the good news is that I'm excited to legitimately read these, unlike last month. But as a booktuber, it's a little daunting because I want to give myself ample time to really digest these books, and I don't want to rush through them just to get to a certain book count so we have things to talk about on the channel. So it's very possible in the month of February, we're going to be doing less talking about specific books that I'm reading and possibly some more crazy things and some of the crazy BellTube antics that if you haven't yet come to love, at least maybe you'll understand why, just due to the fact that some of this stuff is pretty dense material. I'm also very much looking forward to, and this was on my TBR for December, but Howling Dark just took too long for me to read, but I'm going to be reading, if we can get to it, Return of the Griffin by JCM Berne, which is book 2 in his Wistful Ascending series. I know that's not the name of the series. I'll put it up here somewhere. But I loved Wistful Ascending. It's a really cool book. It's definitely a palate cleanser compared to Shogun and Malazan Book of the Fallen. I had a blast with Wistful Ascending. I expect more of the same in book 2. So thank you, JCM Berne, for adding a book to my TBR that is not so daunting that I actually think I'm going to get through it. Let's talk about LitRPG for a second. Again, I only got through about half of book 10 in Cradle, which is Reaper, before the DNF challenge started in January. So I've already resumed back to Reaper. I suspect I'll finish it, I hope this week. Then it's going to be on to Dread God, which is book 11 in the Cradle series. And you guys know that I've not been a giant fan of this particular series, but I'm already 10 and a half books in. I'm not a DNFer to begin with, as I think I've proven, but I want to at least get through the next book and a half, 2 books, call it a day, be able to come back with a full thoughts video on all of Cradle's 12 books. So that's where we're starting out. I'm going to do the rest of Reaper. I'm going to do Dread God. It's possible I do book 12, but if I decide not to do book 12, and by the way, I'm doing all of these LitRPGs this month on Audible because, as I've already mentioned, my sight reading is pretty booked for the month. And if I do Dread God and don't go on to book 12, the final book in Cradle, then I want to get to book 10 in the Bad Guys series by Ugland. Again, also on Audible, narrated by the amazing Neil Helligers, which is called On a Throne of Lies. I'm hoping to be able to get to it. It wasn't even on my TBR for December because it's come out between now and then. So I'm excited about it. I love where the story's been headed. So that's on the to-do list. If not by February, then certainly in March. But as I look at the Audible TBR, it's not very dense. It's pretty easy listening, and these stories are pretty short. I think we're going to be able to do it. And we might even get through all of Cradle, so that would be amazing. And don't forget, we are running a contest on BellTube, so if you go to the LitRPG Starter Guide into the comments section, I'm giving away 1 free Audible credit and 1 free iReading credit in an ebook to everybody who comments. I'm going to throw in a random pool, and I think maybe what we'll do on our next video is I will live pull out a drawing for each winner, and we'll have some free giveaways. So if you haven't yet checked that out, and if you haven't yet commented, if you do want a potential ebook or potential Audible credit for LitRPG, definitely put your name in the hat. I'd love to see you win it. Our one for the road today is going to be the easiest one we've ever done. I want to talk about kindness just for a moment. It doesn't take that much to be kind to people. Sometimes all it takes is a friendly smile. Not a creepy smile, not one of those, you're some guy in a bar asking a girl, hey, why aren't you smiling? That's creepy stuff. I'm talking about a legitimate kind smile. Maybe to somebody at the grocery store. Maybe to somebody just at work that, you give a kind, appreciative smile to. Or maybe it's just somebody in your family that you give a kind smile to. I think things like that tend to be contagious in the most positive of ways. And if we here as a community emanate positivity, we're going to make a bit of a difference in the world. It's probably not going to change the world, but we can start. We can try to make things a little bit better for the people that are around us. And if you happen to be somebody who's pretty solitary and may not see anybody yet today, then at least go into the bathroom, look into the mirror, and give yourself a kind smile. You deserve it. Life's not easy, and I don't know your personal life story, but I would be willing to bet you've gone through some things that I wouldn't want to go through. And I think for that, you deserve a smile. You deserve some recognition. I'm giving you a legitimate smile here because I think you're worth it. Please spread some positivity today. And of course, here's your fortune.